Really what I want to talk about is the most energy efficient system your best option? Okay, sounds like a trick question, and maybe it is, but is the most energy efficient system your best option? What I want you guys to be able to leave with is understanding the importance of setting energy conservation baselines at the beginning of the project. 2, learn the importance of communication with the owner at various levels throughout the project in order to make it successful. 3, identify what an IDP, integrated design approach, is and the owner's role in that process. And then 4, discuss the importance of proper owner training in the design and the role that they play in that as well. So who? This is geared towards AE. Okay, they're the ones that are responsible for designing an energy efficient system for the owner. This is geared towards the owner. The owner is responsible for providing to somebody an energy efficient building, and they have an obligation to express the requirements to the AE. And then the facilities. Okay, they're the ones that have to do the O&M in order to maintain a successful design. A failure of any one of these parties will risk the overall success of the project. What? Mission critical facility. Obviously, here it's geared toward data centers. But it's not just data centers. It's healthcare, laboratories, community service buildings, 911 centers, EOCs, and then government buildings. Now, what governs, who determines if a building is critical? When you're designing a building, if you're on the design side, if you're designing a building, who determines if that building is critical? The owner. Okay. So not only does the owner dictate whether the building is critical or not, but they also have a tremendous role in the design process to ensure that it's designed properly. What's the issue? 2 main issues. 1, mission critical facilities are typically the most energy consuming buildings. Okay, so there's a driving need to reduce that energy. 2, and related to the first one, that baseline requirements and expectations for energy efficiency are challenging us, often at the expense of those that need to maintain them. When I'm given a project or we're chasing a project, I'm increasingly being challenged by some force, and I'll get into those, to produce an energy efficient design. Now, I don't design that in an envelope. When I started out doing this, I used to swing for the fences on every design. I took it as a personal challenge to get my building in some magazine. Okay, and what I've learned through becoming a veteran is that we don't always need to be hitting home runs. So every once in a while, a single or a double will do if it wins us the game. So in the baseball analogy, hitting a home run and losing the game to me, is not success. When we start a project, we have certain driving forces that are going to dictate what the energy goals are, or at least what the energy requirements are. With every new edition of the IECC, the required energy efficiency goals and requirements are going up, to the point where when 2018 IECC is officially adopted, designs are going to have to be compliant with ASHRAE 90.1 2016. Okay, that's a big deal. I'll get into that in a minute. But this is code. So the ASHRAE 90.1 is referenced into the IECC. So we have to comply with code, regardless of project, regardless of budget. Depending on what your project is, you're going to have some different requirements to maintain. If it's a federal building, you're going to have to comply with these 2, which require 30% increase or optimization above 90.1. If your owner wants to pursue LEED or green globes, in order to achieve certain points or credits, you're going to have additional requirements to achieve. An example of that is South Carolina, where I'm from. I work in Charleston. South Carolina law states it is the policy of this state to have a comprehensive state energy plan that maximizes, to the extent practical, environmental quality and energy conservation and efficiency, and minimizes the cost of energy throughout the state. This was introduced, I want to say 15 years ago, okay? Back when LEED was at its infancy. So further down in the code, it says every state-funded project, whether new, and that would be over 10,000 square feet, or renovation, which would be 50% of its value, has to achieve at least 40% of the LEED points. Now, in some law person's infinite wisdom, it didn't identify what the criteria was. It just says LEED. Well, what's happened is that with every new version of LEED that comes out, the version of ASHRAE 9.1 that we have to comply with gets more stringent. So by its very nature, South Carolina is forcing us on state-funded projects to achieve a certain percentage above 90.1. So for LEED 4, a new construction building, 40% of the available 18 credits is 8 points. And 8 points equates to a 20% improvement above 90.1 2010. That's a state requirement for a state-funded project. The DOE did a study that said that the ASHRAE version 2010, just by itself, was 18% more efficient than its previous version. So you can see why South Carolina state projects, the requirements or the constraints or that we're bound to are always going up. And what this is forcing us to do is challenging us. We're becoming overly innovative. It's forcing us to try and hit the home runs. And most of the time it's at the sake of the owner.